us, the big star, would be the real American voices.
Jesus!
All right, yes. Lost his line there.
That's okay.
A very big thank you to Ed Henry and Karyn Turk and Terrance Bates on America's Sunrise. Watch America's Sunrise.
Patriots, welcome to this American Sunrise live in West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
And live from the Valley of the Jolly Green Giant, that would be Denver this morning. So good to see each and every one of you. I'm Terrance, Ed and Karyn, good morning. Ed was making fun of me. He said I look like the Jolly Green Giant with all of this on today.
You see, that's what you do. You got to get ahead of it. You throw the first punch when we get on the air, so then it's a little less sting. Because I was going to say, I wrote it down, I'm green with envy. Did you get that at a thrift shop? Because all this green, people don't wear green shirts anymore. Was that at a secondhand shop? Or?
No, I've actually had this shirt, and I was really thinking about this morning. I've probably had this shirt 20 years, and it's lasted. It's been good. I've probably had it 20
So it was
years.
A thrift shop at one point.
So you say,
it's a 30-year shirt. You got it when it was 10 years.
That is hilarious.
I love thrifting.
What do you think? It's all green.
We were talking about thrifting before the break like so much, and you were saying your girls like thrifting now, Terrance, which I'm glad that a new generation is being inspired to thrift. I'm excited about this.
Do your daughters do that? Have you taught them?
Yeah,
okay.
I've taught everyone.
Well, there's a place here. I'm thinking it's going to be a little adventure. Maybe when you come back to Palm Beach, like last time we went to a secondhand shop when you were here months ago. There's a new one in town. He
discovered one that I don't know about.
I found a Death Row Records vintage T-shirt there over the weekend, and I might be wearing that for Suge's honor. In the meantime, Sound of Freedom. Wow. It's now hit $125 million at the box office. Everyone was talking about Barbie over the weekend, which is so ridiculous. But look at this guy, George Santos. I guess it was his birthday. 35 and still partied like Barbie. He's got pink sunglasses.
I want to say I'm not buying into the Barbie trend. This is not why I wore pink today. I wanted to wear pink.
I didn't realize
I was just
that.
having a moment. It was not the Barbie trend.
I did not connect it to Barbie.
I was not.
Terrance, are your daughters going to see Barbie or what?
I don't think so. And I don't plan on taking them. They went to see Spider-Man the other day, the animated Spider-Man. They really wanted to see that. I don't think they're so much into Barbie. I think a lot of it's even pride, like, I don't want to admit that I'm actually into this, so I'm not so sure we're going to go see it.
And I think they're trashing. It's gone woke, right?
Yeah, I heard it's pretty woke. I'm not going to say it.
There's a Disney Snow White movie, and they're saying, the princess isn't saved. She doesn't need the man. It's just all woke now. And Disney's failed their last 8 movies, and now they throw out Snow White, woke Snow White. But that fails too.
They're killing childhood. They're absolutely killing childhood. It's so sad. But the people have spoken. Look at the box office numbers for Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom, and we'll get to Jason Aldean in a minute, I promise. Meanwhile, some breaking news out of Washington this morning. Apparently, a nursing home patient has gone missing. Your daily Biden.
Mr. President, can you tell us about the hacking of cabinet officials by China and the threshold of concern you have about that, sir?
Ready?
Yes.
How we get these guys in? All right.
What do you think?
Did he just tell these people to go about the press that were in the room when he walked out? What did he say?
There were
what
all
did
kinds
he
of
mumble?
weird comments. And where he's walking, he's in the Roosevelt room that's named for Teddy Roosevelt and FDR. So they have all kinds of mementos. It's a very historic room right near the Oval. So he was walking towards the Oval Office. And that's what was particularly confusing to me as someone who was around there for about 10 years, is that the president, any president would
just
know.
Wander off?
No, would walk towards the Oval Office because that's where you work. And he appeared to be, do I go this way? Do I go that way? The Oval Office is basically straight ahead, Terrance. So it's just the daily Biden. That's what we're going to call it now.
And what I find kind of interesting just in watching everything else, it looked like the staff was a little confused because one would expect when the president leaves the room, everyone immediately follows the president. And it seemed like they were a little taken aback, like, okay, should we, okay, I guess we're supposed to follow at this point. It also seemed
to
a little
Karen's
weird.
question, there might have been, Yeah, there might have been more that he was supposed to say, and they were waiting.
Tell these people to go. I don't know if that's what I heard. Maybe the chat will clear it up. But when he walked out and he went through the doorway, it sounded like he said, "Tell these people to go." Like,
So-
I'm over it. I'm
Let's go or
tired.
something like that. Yeah, but I have to listen to it again. Okay.
He may have.
Right. But it's also the shuffle and the
absolutely.
And he goes the wrong way when he's like in Philly at in fairness, at a venue that maybe he's never been at before. This is where he works and lives every day, and he doesn't even know which hallway, which whatever. Talked about Jason Aldean a moment ago. A tale of two photos. So let's start with Jason Aldean. You want to know why the woke mob has come from him? Let's put up the photo of Jason first, guys. Yeah. And folks are saying, if you wonder why the left wants to cancel him, Karyn, this was months ago. This wasn't that recent, but I remember he was here at Mar-a-Lago for New Year's Eve. He's friends with Donald Trump. That's why the woke mob, not even about this song. The video was out there for weeks and weeks and weeks. Nobody said anything, but let's get him.
But it's what Donald Trump always says. They're not after me. I'm in the way.
They're going after you.
They're going after you.
Whether it's Jason Aldean or Karyn Turk or whomever. Let's go to the next photo. Okay, so who's in trouble? Jason Aldean's in trouble. What about this photo? Hunter Biden's sugar brother. It's a lawyer named Kevin Morris. So the photo on the left is Hunter going into the guy's apartment, I think out in L.A. And there's Morris, his attorney. Terrance, you know this lingo. He was ripping a bong hit, I guess is what the kids say. He's on his balcony smoking marijuana. And it's legal in some places, whatever. But you're meeting with Hunter, you're an attorney, this is supposed to be serious, and people are getting photos of him smoking marijuana. Hunter's not really in trouble.
That's his lawyer?
Yes!
Yeah. That's his lawyer?
You didn't see this photo? This went by.
I did, but I don't think I properly processed it. I saw it, I read the article, but right now in this moment,
he probably has 7 lawyers because he's got different cases, and I know Abby Lowell in Washington, but this is one of his lawyers. Yes,
absolutely.
Out on the West Coast.
Wow!
Look at the photo on the bottom. I think Natalie Winters.
He looks like somebody's disheveled, unemployed uncle, who hangs out all day in his bathrobe smoking weed.
Well, all right, you might not be able to unsee this, Terrance, but I was going to say, maybe I'll get in trouble. Natalie Winters said it, so I'm quoting her, our friend who works with Bannon. If you look at the photo on the bottom right, she said it kind of looks a little like Bannon. Look at that photo.
Okay, I have to admit, there's a little bit of a resemblance, but Steve's so much better looking.
Steve's better looking.
Much better looking.
The hair. But Terrance, so I'm trying to make a point. Mm-hmm. So Aldean does this song. I don't think you can credibly say the man was pro-lynching. It's absurd. Mm-hmm. The mob comes after him because he's friends. He's played golf. He's been at Mar-a-Lago. He's played golf with Trump. Right. And Hunter's had one thing after another, and he still hasn't been held accountable. And then he goes to see his lawyer, and we see this, and the left is not going to care.
And here's the other thing to kind of add to that. Let's not forget, there is a court hearing coming up this week during which we're expecting Hunter Biden to accept a plea deal. Now, part of that plea deal has to do with drugs and guns. That's kind of tangential at this point because he's taking pretrial diversion. But one would think that being around someone else using drugs has got to influence whatever is going to happen here on the 26th, simply because drugs and being in possession of a gun is part of this plea deal, which is probably the most serious case and the most serious charge that's being swept under the rug. So I would think
it is, although the tax stuff is serious too. But your point is well taken. Absolutely. What do you think?
Where's the cocaine in the White House?
Well, and we never got to the bottom of that.
What's going on with that?
And a lot of people have said, to Terrance's point, that they did not want to find out the truth on the cocaine in the White House because it would have blown up the plea deal if Hunter's fingerprints were on that baggie. And I don't know if they were innocent until proven guilty.
Absolutely.
But the timing that Terrance just pointed out is amazing. Let's look quickly, though. Ted Nugent overnight was supporting Jason Aldean. Let's note that. Our friend Uncle Ted. Hank Williams Jr. has now resigned from CMT's board of directors. I support Aldean. Let's keep it rolling to the next one. It's Blake Shelton. Karyn, who now has canceled a $30 million project he was working on with CMT. Jason is my friend. This is interesting because it's, the Bud Light thing was one thing, but now if CMT is losing a $30 million thing, Hank Williams Jr. is running, Ted Nugent is big. This is big.
Talk about putting your money where your mouth is, right?
Right.
That's amazing. That's really impressive.
Terrance,
what a way to
whole
stand.
Thing is gay, and then you add it in the context of Sound of Freedom, which the left has tried to say is like a QAnon conspiracy, and here it is. It's dominating.
We are imperfect. And we must be honest about that to understand that.
Okay. That's all right. Anyway, go ahead, Terrance.
No, I was just going to say, and this is also, I think, an example of artists stepping up for other artists and saying that, look, we're not going to cancel someone because they are being artistic. They're expressing themselves through their art, through their music, or whatever. So kudos to all of these artists who are stepping up and saying, no, we're not going to cancel someone just because you may disagree with what they've said.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's show it. There's a word salad from the vice president. Watch.
We are imperfect. And we must be honest about that to understand then our history, where we've been, and then have a North Star in terms of where we must go.
Terrance, what do you think?
She's just
He's
awkward.
speechless.
She's awkward. The whole body
So
language
awkward.
And the context, obviously, that I guess it's important to talk about the context. The context of her comments had to do with the new law or the new regulations there in Florida where you guys are, specific to what can be taught in terms of black history and how black history will be taught moving forward. And obviously there's criticism and support for that, both. And so she was speaking critically against the new rules as it relates to black history and how it's going to be taught there in Florida. It just seemed awkward.
Yeah, and a lot of people
body
think she's
language and
awkward, and she's been exaggerating what's in there. Let's quickly put up a reminder, if you missed it last week, about the J6 song with President Trump. Kash Patel posting this as promised. Promises made, promises kept, and there's the check on the right from Mailman Media. As promised, this is just the down payment.
Beautiful.
All net proceeds from Justice for All the song, which was #1 on Billboard, being distributed to the J6 families in need. Please submit a grant application. Go to Fight with Cash, Cash with a K, obviously. If you're a J6 family in need, we're going to get the money directly to them. And he tagged a whole bunch of people, including the great John Rich, who's a great patriot and always has supported this project, and we appreciate that. And so we'll keep talking about that. In the meantime, I do think these indictments against President Trump, I mean, there's more now spilling out about Georgia over the weekend. They've really, really reached a ridiculous point. I want to put this up as somebody in the record business. I don't get this. Tupac was murdered on Flamingo Road, less than 2 miles, they're now saying, from where a Trump hotel later opened in 2017.
Oh, wow.
Coincidence? I think not. You can see the Babylon Bee saying Trump will be indicted for the murder of Tupac.
I mean, that's quite possible. They've been itching along, saying they have a lot of information in that case.
They just said they have new information, but Tupac, I think that we've gone too far, Terrance, right? I mean, this is
I wanted to call
side.
like Tupac.
I said Tupac. Yeah, I was going fast. It's Tupac. That's good that you called me. I love it.
I was like, should I call this out? No, I'm going to let him ride on this one.
You should. Because I'd call you out, so I like that.
Yeah.
Alex Brucewitz, who supports President Trump.
He does all the time. All the time on this show. Yes, it's true. Yeah, you got him. It was good.
Let's do this real quick, though, because I want to be serious about President Trump, and then we'll get to Karyn, which is that Tim Scott is now close. So this is new Fox polling. Nikki Haley in South Carolina, where she's governor, she's now #2 in this Fox poll to Trump, obviously. Tim Scott close to overtaking DeSantis in Iowa, and many of the national polls have Vivek, closing in on DeSantis or getting ahead of him in some places. Karyn, what do you think? I mean, DeSantis is no longer #2 in these key battlegrounds.
I think he should just say bye-bye. Just, no one to fold him. I said it last week. Just call in his cards and walk away.
There's another great country song. No one to hold him, no one to fold him. Go ahead.
Yeah,
no one to walk away, no one to run.
Wow.
And Ron DeSantis is also apparently hemorrhaging potential electors or delegates on the Republican side. At one point in time, I think back in February, he had over 500. Now he's down to just about 300. These are people who have said that they likely would vote for him. So the campaign is in a free-for-all right now.
Yeah, it certainly is. All right, I think it's time to go down the rabbit hole with Karyn.
That's a good one.
All right, Karyn, this is the week you've been waiting for.
It is.
Big week on UFOs on Capitol Hill. So a House committee is planning a hearing later this week. Quote, we're done with the cover-ups, Forbes says. The House Oversight Committee will hold a hearing on unidentified anomalous phenomena, commonly referred to as UFOs, So it's Wednesday. Rep. Tim Burchett from Tennessee, we've talked about him, announced this. It's the latest attempt by government officials to take reports of sightings seriously. Karyn, you've talked about this. People have scoffed. Congress is now investigating.
They are, because they have to come out and tell the American people something. There's too many of these videos, there's too many unknowns, and now we have so many people in the military that have said they've seen things, they've been parts of cover-ups, we have whistleblowers, they can't deny the evidence.
So do you think we're going to have a breakthrough?
I think we're going to have a breakthrough.
Terrance?
A little bit.
Terrance?
That's interesting. I suspect there'll be a lot of talk and not a whole lot of real information or credible information, but you think there's going to be a breakthrough. Please explain. I'm curious about
I think there's going to be a breakthrough into admission that these are technologies beyond what we understand and we don't know where they came from. And there's going to be validation of that. I'm not saying that they're going to say, oh, there's men from Mars coming and they're little green men in their spaceship. I wouldn't go that far, but I think there is going to be some disclosure that there's technologies beyond what we understand physically.
All right.
You know, in the terms of physics.
Well, Thursday morning, everyone can look forward to a full report from Karyn about what we find out at the hearing. I hope you'll be watching that. All right, let's skip the next one, guys, and lead into Jesus Calling. A18. Tina Ray says, beginning this week, I'm going to use the time between American Sunrise and War Room to pray and hope that everyone will do that too. I'll start simply with the Lord's Prayer, but anything would be fine. Perhaps a massive number of people praying together could grow and bear fruit. I guess I'm feeling like we have to start somewhere, and we do, and the power of prayer is real. John Rich, real quick, our friend, and no one should spend so much time preoccupied with the nonsense. Our country is on fire. Our president has dementia. The Republicans are all talk, he says. We the people are the final firewall. Hug your kids, kiss your spouse, and pray for the Lord to give you discernment. Discernment, John Rich says. So I thought that would lead us into Jesus.
Amen. John, that's a great tweet. Yep, and Jesus Calling this morning's, pretty good too. Thankfulness opens the door to my presence. Though I am always with you, I have gone to great measures to preserve your freedom of choice. I have placed a door between you and me, and I have empowered you to open or close that door. There are many ways to open it, but a grateful attitude is one of the most effective. And this comes from Psalm 31:14. But I trust in you, O Lord. I say, you are my God.
Psalm 31:14. It's all about gratitude. Terrance, grab us some headlines, will you?
All right, absolutely. While President Trump is expanding his lead in the Republican presidential field, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' campaign is in a free fall. Governor DeSantis' forecasted GOP delegate count is down to an all-time low of just 259 to begin this week. That marks a loss of more than 100 delegate votes since the end of February. President Trump is said to have picked up most of those DeSantis votes and is predicted to now have 2,116 delegate votes. In the meantime, the newly released Harvard-Harris poll has President Trump with the commanding lead in the 2024 presidential primary. He's up 42% over Governor DeSantis, who is his closest competitor but losing steam. Vivek Ramaswamy is gaining ground with 10% support. Former Vice President Mike Pence and Trump UN Ambassador Nikki Haley round out the top five. Well, when you open Twitter this morning, you'll notice a big change at the top of the homepage. It is a big X instead of the blue bird that you're used to seeing. The rebrand marks the latest change for the social media platform since Elon Musk took over. Musk says changing the logo to X is, quote, to embody the imperfections in all of us that make us unique. The web address x.com also redirects people to what once was Twitter. The social media company is now also limiting the number of daily direct messages unverified users can send. The company says it's an effort to reduce spam. However, users who want to increase how many daily messages they can send will have to join the platform's subscription service. Well, that's going to do it for your headlines. Of course, I'll have more headlines coming your way here in just a little bit. But now, let's get you back to Ed and Karyn.
All right, Jolly Green, we'll catch you in a minute with some more headlines. In the meantime, it's time for a segment we like to call
Trump was right.
All right, with these and Terrance, because we love them. Donald Trump was right. There's a dance.
The dance is coming.
There's a rally in
soon.
Pennsylvania Saturday, so we'll be talking about that. Erie, Pennsylvania. We'll be streaming that live, of course. Trump was right about Sound of Freedom long before anybody was talking about this. He had some of the folks fighting the child traffickers at the White House when he was president. This is years ago. And now he's got this Agenda 47. He's now calling for the death penalty for anyone who traffics children. This is a man who's backing up his talk with action. Watch.
I was thrilled to host a screening at Bedminster of the important new film, Sound of Freedom, about the power of faith in overcoming evil, and in particular, the evil of child trafficking. Big problem. We had it down to the lowest number in many years just 4 years ago, and now it's gone through the roof. Even though the fake news media has tried to ignore it, Sound of Freedom has been a national sensation and a colossal success at the box office, really big numbers. Everyone should see it. This is a very important film and very important movie, and it's a very important documentary all wrapped up in one. It's really about an issue that has to be discussed.
You know, I've seen DeSantis people on social media saying, oh, he didn't do anything as priority. He had these folks. He was making it a priority. Biden's not. And he didn't just have a screening. He's talking about real policy.
Biden's not. I mean, not at all. And then, it's heartbreaking that he's not our president right now. That's what my takeaway was, is look at this man who's willing to fight for us, and look what we have in our own
Who could save a lot of children if he were president.
Unbelievable.
But we're not doing that right now. All right, important point that you just made. In the meantime, coming up, we're going to talk about the Second Amendment, bring in someone we haven't had before after the break. His name is Richard Pearson. He runs the Illinois State Rifle Association. He is going to talk about how the extreme left-wing governor in Illinois is trying to shred the Second Amendment. We'll do it right after this.
This news break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
Good morning, Patriots. Welcome back to this American Sun Report. I see a lot of people getting up early on Monday in the live chat on Getter, live chat on Rumble as well. And RavMod1, one of the moderators in the Getter chat, is saying she wants to get the boss, Zen Master, to sponsor her handing out candy. I guess she's thinking about Halloween already.
Halloween, yeah.
Dressed as Ed this year. I don't know if she's identifying as
the mailman?
As mailman. I was going to say as a male host, because I believe she's a woman.
Yeah, Yeah.
I mean, she's got a generic name in there as Ravmon 1, but it's a woman. She wants to dress up as Ed.
You used to be able to say mailman and nobody would be offended.
But so
if you were a woman and they said mailman and you were a male person, you weren't like, oh,
a
I'm
male
really
person. Oh, you want to say male person? You're going woke.
Yeah,
so you mean male, M-A-I-L, so not M-A-L-E. So that's why. Maybe she's dressing up as a mailman. Or a male woman, or a male person, you said?
Maybe.
All right, there you go. I love it. Well, stay tuned for that. Halloween's just around the corner.
It's a very confusing world we live in now.
In the meantime, we teed up our friend John Rich a moment ago, outstanding patriot, and we had a great show at his bar there at Redneck Riviera in Nashville some time ago. Over the weekend, he's still out there, big and rich, with his buddy Big, and they were in the great state of Nevada, and they were singing, God Bless America. Watch. God bless America. How beautiful was that?
Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous.
Jason Aldean had a show over the weekend, by the way, and he ain't backing down.
Oh, no, he's not.
And we'll be playing that clip next hour, so stick around for that. In the meantime, coming up are the headlines, sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
All right. We've got some more jolly headlines, and we'll bring in our friend Terrance Bates. Terrance, good morning again.
I'm going to smile as I'm jolly. All right, let's get to it right now, guys. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is like a dog with a bone these days.
I think that Joe Biden has been selling access to our enemies for decades.
And that's why the Kentucky Republican is pushing the investigation into what many on the right describe as the Biden crime family. Typically, allegations like those levied against the president would lead to a special counsel investigation. But Congressman Comer says he doesn't want to see that happen. Quote, I have no confidence in Merrick Garland to appoint an independent, credible, unbiased special counsel. I think we're making a lot of progress in our investigation, so we're going to continue to plow forward, he says. Garland's House Oversight Comer's House Oversight Committee, along with the House Ways and Means Committee and the House Judiciary Committee, are continuing to dig into alleged crimes involving Hunter Biden that appear to extend to Joe Biden during his time as vice president. So far, the committees have publicized evidence from IRS and FBI whistleblowers that point to a scheme of influence peddling run by Hunter Biden using his father's position. In other headlines, the most recent polls related to the 2024 Republican presidential primary have businessman Vivek Ramaswamy surging. While everyone is still far behind Donald Trump, Ramaswamy is gaining ground on Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who has been in second place in the polls since before he even announced his candidacy. But these days, DeSantis is losing support despite a super PAC that has hundreds of millions of dollars to spend. Ramaswamy, on the other hand, is gaining support thanks to investing in himself.
This is the super PAC primary. I think more than any election in history, even more so than the Democratic primary last time around, this Republican primary is the super PAC primary. And I think the problem with that is that creates a series of super PAC puppets. That also restrains what you can say. It restrains the truth that you're able to speak because the donor money and spigot, the mega donor money, turns off if you're speaking the truth as unsparingly as I am.
Ramaswamy is surging just in time for the first Republican presidential primary debate, which is about a month away now. As of Sunday, 7 candidates in the loaded field qualified to be on the debate stage. That group includes President Trump, of course, Governor Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, former Vice President Mike Pence, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. That's a quick look at your headlines brought to you by AMAC.
All right, Terrance, appreciate it as always. I see Kello in the chat saying, Ed, do you have a man crush on John Rich? I guess I kind of, but why can't you just say he's a great patriot? I love the guy. We're friends. He texted me last week, said he wants to come on.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah. I don't know.
Own it.
All right. There you are. There's a lot of people in there. People are really interacting. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I get in these days the lines are blurred, but we know who you are, brother. It's okay if you have a man crush on him. It's all good.
Right.
We
Yeah,
know who you are.
All right, there we go. You know what? I appreciate you having my back, even though I was teasing you. You know, that's why we get along. We're good friends. We appreciate it. Terrance, we'll see you in a couple moments. In the meantime, let's bring in a new friend. He hasn't been on American Sunrise yet, but I'm looking forward to this. His name is Richard Pearson. He's executive director of the Illinois State Rifle Association. We're going to talk Second Amendment. Richard, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
You know, I want to put it up on the screen. The last time we talked about your governor, you probably don't like to hear me refer to it that way, far left Pritzker, was that he was telling illegal landlords that they had to rent to illegal aliens, even if they had no paperwork or nothing. Now, you see this article mentions Biden from Newsmax, but it talks about Pritzker signing legislation banning assault weapons, making Illinois just the 9th state to enact one of the strongest bans in the country. What's going on? I know your group is fighting what he's up to. Talk about the radical agenda going on with some of these governors, sir.
Well, it's a radical agenda that's going all across the country. And of course, Pritzker's leading it. He's worth $3.2 billion, and he is pumping money into gun control across the country. He is encouraging other governors to propose bills similar to Illinois. Illinois' bill bans 107 types of different firearms, 170 types of different firearms. Plus, it changes what you can add to them, so you could have a firearm that's legal today, buy a part from a gun store, put it on there, and you could have an illegal firearm and not even know it.
And not even know. You wouldn't even know.
And you're running afoul about what the left wants to do. I want to put up on the screen, by the way, because to your point, you know, they go so far to the left. CNN, of all people, actually fact-checked Biden. And look at this. This was in June when he gave a speech about guns. Biden makes 5 false claims about guns, plus about some other subjects. And we know the man lies, but it's amazing that even CNN would say it. He used incorrect figures about the population of Africa to compare America to other continents and countries, his own travel history and how much renewable energy Texas uses. You know, that was some of the non-gun stuff as well, but he just lies and lies. Do you see that with Pritzker as well there in Illinois? Because to me, on any issue, if you have a case to change a law, let's hear the facts. Yep. Let's hear a reasonable, logical debate. But it appears to me, and even CNN's calling it out, that the Democrats don't want to use the facts, sir.
Well, of course not. When they were negotiating this bill, we were excluded from the negotiations, as well as all other firearm groups. So they locked us out and then said it was bipartisan later. So it wasn't bipartisan. They never heard our side of the story. A couple years ago, we had another situation where I was on the committee, and a couple friends of mine were on the committee, and suddenly we stopped getting notifications of meetings. So people would say, why weren't you at the meeting? Well, because I never knew about the meeting. The meeting was held in some place that we didn't know about, and so that's the way it works in Illinois. That's why you have to go into the court
Another
system.
Shady.
Yeah, shady.
I was just saying, another shady, backroom, corrupt deal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Shady is a polite term. So tell us, we got a lot of patriots watching. We got just a minute. What's coming next? Is Pritzker talking about more, gun control? And what can patriots do to stand up? Because I think you made an important point. That's why we're having you on. It's not just about Illinois. This is a radical agenda that starts in a left-wing state like Illinois, but starts to spread. Your final point, sir.
Well, my final point is that we have to stand against these things. We've gone into the federal court system to do that. You can't get it done in state court because, as I say, the difference between the Illinois state legislature and the Illinois Supreme Court is about 400 yards. So you can't go to an Illinois court. You have to go into federal courts. And so we are doing that. We are carrying a lawsuit to the Supreme Court if we have to.
All right, there you go. You're fighting all the way to the highest court in the land. Richard, it's great to meet you. We hope to have you back. The Second Amendment is obviously critical to the founding of this nation. We want to make sure we can keep it on top and keep in a spotlight when the left is trying to chip away at it. Thanks for coming in, sir.
Thank you. Great to be on with you.
All right, coming up, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to check in with our friend Andrew Phipps. If it's Monday, it's a little faith, family, and freedom from out in the heartland. Sunrise from Ted Nugent, Uncle Ted on the way out. That's right. 81 million votes. Carrie Lake and the Truth Bombers. You know, we've produced some other songs, so we haven't been like tracking 81 million. It did amazing. It's still on the iTunes charts without us even talking about it much. We play it, and we're grateful to do that here at RAV. But in the meantime, I'm looking at the live chat. There's so many people interacting. Kello is backpedaling on the John Rich thing. I'm just kidding, Ed. American Sunrise is the best. But I also like to see...
I don't know if that's backpedaling.
Well, I'm just joking. It's like
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, Sean Lucas rose to my defense in New Jersey. How can you not have a man crush on John Rich? And RavMod1 also picking on me again. Ed's got a man crush. He hates to admit it, but ... So there you go, RavMod1. We see you. We see you. You know what we also see? The mainstream media is not going to talk about this, Karen, for real. You know, people throw, they're not going to talk. Really, they're not going to talk about this, but we will. Did you see what happened to Senator Rand Paul's office in Kentucky? So there's a fire there, destroyed the whole office. And the day before this, or earlier in the day, he had referred Dr. Fauci in his office, because he's retired now, to the DOJ for prosecution for the lies.
It's super suspicious. I mean, the timing
I'm not saying Fauci had anything to do. I'm just saying, how can this happen?
How can it happen? What are the odds? What are the odds?
Did you see the video of this fire? I mean, they were trying to put it out.
There are no coincidences.
It was going on for hours. Yeah, let's put it up. So there it is. That's his office, and this is the aftermath. There's the smoke. And a lot of this was trending all weekend long because people were saying, how does this happen? that a senator, you interviewed him last summer in Vegas.
And he said he was not going to stop. He was not going to stop until the last day that he could possibly fight. He's like, for the rest of my career, I will fight against this man.
And the lies from Dr. Fauci. And hours after Fauci is referred to the DOJ for prosecution, which we know Garland won't do anything about, but Paul, hats off to him, Rand Paul, for keeping the pressure on. His office just goes on fire. Maybe it was just an accident. Maybe somebody was cooking some mozzarella sticks or something in the oven.
Yeah.
I mean, how does this happen?
I don't know. You think we'll get answers? Will we find out who dropped the cocaine in the White House, too?
We haven't figured that out. Let's send in the investigators. Go from the White House over to Rand Paul's office. In the meantime, Kyle Becker had this. I don't know if you saw this vaccine story. It applies back to Fauci and the rest. Another young professional athlete has suffered a terrible blow to his career. The Cleveland Browns' 32 years old, wide receiver Marquise Goodwin, diagnosed Karyn with blood clots in his legs and lungs, was placed on the non-football illness list last Friday when he experienced discomfort in his legs and shortness of breath during workouts. Regrettably, the presence of blood clots will prevent the receiver, who is about to enter his 10th season in the NFL, from participating in the start of training camp. Karyn, we've seen blood clots. We were glad to have Dr. Naomi Wolf back on the show last Thursday. You can see the quote. It was really alarming at first because I experienced injuries throughout my career. It's never been anything like this. It was frightening at first, but now I'm at ease with it. I've prayed and just given it over to God, the player said. It's out of my control. The only thing I control is my effort and attitude and how I approach each day moving forward.
And God bless him for having that beautiful attitude. But how scary for all of these young athletes that now that they have to face the fact that this is like happening so often.
Yeah, the New York Post had the story. And we've seen blood clots in young men. Something Dr. Wolf, Dr. McCullough at the Wellness Company and others have talked about. And the mainstream media doesn't want to admit it. And I read a bunch of these stories. I'm like, surely people are going to... No, they don't connect it to vaccine mandates and what the sports leagues were doing. But we all know the truth, and they don't want to admit it.
Yeah, no, but we know, our chat knows. You know, our chat blows up every time we talk about the subject. I wasn't following it too closely, but, you know, there's so many families, so many people that have been affected, and they're always sharing stories in there, and you realize the impact this has had on all of us.
Absolutely, and that's why I mentioned the Wellness Company a moment ago. At least they are fighting back with you, trying to get back your medical freedom. Go to twc.health/RAV. You're going to get that 10% discount on those big, beautiful supplements. You see Dr. McCullough's Healthy Heart and Muscle on the left. And we always appreciate his efforts. And you see Spike Support in the middle, dealing with those spike proteins, which can be so detrimental, as one of the doctors said last week, particularly to women. So I'm going to share this with you.
And I'm going to take it today, right now.
I took mine at home. In the meantime, please support our partner and sponsor, The Wellness Company. Let's bring in our friend Andrew Phipps. You see him around this time every single Monday morning. Mr. Phipps, where are you today? Where in the world is Andrew Phipps?
I'm in Somerset, Kentucky, Pulaski County. You know, Kentucky has 120 counties. It's beautiful. Down close to Cumberland Falls and some of the most beautiful scenery in the world.
That's awesome. We love to see you all around this great country. Talk to us a little bit about where you believe we are right now. We're talking about NFL players being felled by blood clots. There has been story after story about this, and now I'm going to put up here, Red State has this story. The Burbank mayor out there in California claims sexually graphic book called Gender Queer is acceptable in schools out there in California, sir. We talk about this kind of stuff every single day. They will go after Jason Aldean for a song, but they'll allow other songs with all kinds of crazy lyrics and video, you know, gyrating and all that. And then these kind of books to put in the hands of precious children. How do we fight back on this, sir?
I think I tried to speak to that yesterday. I think we have to deal with deception. We have deception that's in our church world. We have deception in government. We have deception in our culture. Unfortunately, it doesn't even lend itself to common sense. I think we're going to have to pray. We're going to have to get in the Bible. We're going to have to hang out with other people that share our beliefs, and we're going to have to reject this idiocy. And that's about the best I can say about it. The Bible says God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
Yeah, it's really difficult, too, when you see people who, are godly people that are being deceived by evil, but there's so much evil in the world right now. It just seems to permeate every facet. And the left is just such a great example of what's wrong in the world right now.
Absolutely. Go ahead, sir.
Well, what I was going to say too, Karen, is that I think the 1% of us that are not offended by everything out there are going to have to stand against the 99% who feel that they are victimized or that they are being oppressed. The voters are going to reject this. The Bible still tells us that if my people, which are called on my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face, then will I hear from heaven. I'll forgive their sins and heal their land. And I think we see a movement today back to what Warren Harding might have called normalcy in 1920. I think people are getting their senses back. We're going to reject this in a very aggressive fashion.
Very interesting. I wasn't expecting a quote from Warren Harding, but Warren G. Harding, we get it from our friend Andrew Phipps. Return to normalcy is something that I think a lot of people want, and they saw that under President Trump. I'll get to Trump in a minute, but you also bring to mind something we mentioned at the top of the show before Jesus Calling that John Rich put out, that what we need in this country right now is discernment. To read the Bible, and we need discernment about what's really happening in this country, in this world. How do you react to his phrasing of that?
I think discernment is the part of what I spoke about yesterday. Wisdom is seeing things from God's perspective. Knowledge is acquired, but wisdom comes from the Father above. And we have no other alternative but to study. And, I tell people we don't need to go to the church that's the closest to our house. We need to go to the one that's closer to the Bible. And so, consequently, I think people today, if they will get down to it and really seek the wisdom that only God can give us, He will hear from us. His ears are not closed to our cries. And so, consequently, that's my hope. My hope is in what you and I and others who know what is right. We know what's right. We know this abnormal, abhorrent perversion and trying to inundate our little children with stuff that's right out of the pits, right out of the demonic type world. We know that we can't allow that to happen. These precious little children don't need this. We got to stand resolutely against it.
I love your optimism, Andrew Phipps. You come on sometimes and, we'll be feeling like things are in a dark place, and your not only faith in God, but faith in humanity never ceases to amaze me. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, absolutely. React to that with also this, because we've got just about a minute, sir. Which is that in your travels, when you're giving these sermons around the country, that's one thing. Talk about the Bible. We'll keep that separate from politics. But I'm sure people come up to you and have thoughts on how we restore this, how we get back to where we were, how we get back to that normalcy. You talked about that. Are people mostly talking about President Trump? Are they talking about other fresh faces in these Republican primaries? Go ahead.
Ed, I think we've had preachers like the Black Robe Brigade back during the colonial effort before the independence was declared. George Whitefield. We've had people like Charles Finney in the 1800s. We've had people like D. James Kennedy, Jerry Falwell. That all of these people represent about 3 centuries. And so I think the pulpits ought to cry aloud and spare not. That's what Isaiah the prophet said. And where I go, they are right in tune. They don't believe any of this New York City lunacy or this no bail, and they don't believe one bit about this type of thing or trying to make people into something they're not. Out in the heartland, I mean, where people are still appreciative of America's exceptionalism, where they believe the Bible, where they're patriotic, and where they stand for the things that are decent, they don't believe one bit of this. Sometimes we get fooled thinking everybody believes this craziness. But where I go, they're on the same page as you and Karen are. And
Wow.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. That's great. It's so good to hear.
All right. I think we got our answer. Mr. Phipps, we appreciate seeing you every Monday. Do you have a last thought? Go ahead.
well, I just wanted to thank you both and Real America's Voice. I said it, I'll say it again. You are a light in dark places. You're shining the light. Keep it up. Don't be resolute. Don't falter. Just know that you're deeply appreciated. And thank you for allowing me to be on.
We appreciate
thank you.
All right, we appreciate having you on. We appreciate those Real American Voices who are watching, and they're in the live chats on Rumble and Getter and Lighten It Up right now. And they were reacting. I mean, I saw Lone Star Lady saying, "Lord, please give me the ability for discernment." I mean, they're listening and reacting and feeling it in their own lives.
Absolutely, we got almost 5,200 people in there already.
In the Getter chat alone, they've got even more in Rumble. So there you go. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. Stay awake, not woke. Sponsored by Beard Vet. Beard Vet. After a quick break.
Plain cocaine. I get high, my ride with my pride. Cocaine.
That cocaine, the latest verse. It's got high on a plane on the way to Ukraine.
Yep, or speeding down the street in the car. Sounds like Hunter.
I think you know what that's all about. We mentioned the live chat on Getter, which, that's about 5,000. Rumble's about 3,000 and growing. I mean, I remember recently it was a few hundred people, and now these are not just people watching, people interacting. And I see Jurgtum say they sex traffic kids, mutilate kids, Karen, corrupt kids, and sexually assault kids. And yet Nancy Pelosi says, it's all for the children. She didn't mean anything good. Real 23, Trump is how we get back, because we asked that question. Jasmine Rose, God is the only thing we need right now. It's the only way to defeat them. The Bible is the only truth in this world, and the only thing you need. Wow, there's a lot of really strong comments in there. A lot of people interacting this morning. That's the Get Our Chat. You can also find it on Rumble. It's got a little button there that says live chat. So we'll be checking in with Real American Voices throughout the day. Now it is time for Stay Awake, Not Woke. All right, simply the best coffee, beardvet.com. Use that promo code RAV, get 10% off. So I have the Beard Vet at home. I love the coffee, but then you get the Beard Vet energy. You know what they say? Beard Vet's been saying he wants this country to be energy independent.
I love that. That's great.
So I think that's how you do it. You get this big, big, beautiful bottle, and you get that, and it squirts out. You put it in any beverage, water, club soda, whatever you want. Yeah, pretty much anything.
Pretty much.
I was thinking about my coffee.
Put it like in your cereal in the morning?
No.
No, you can't do that?
Some people might do that.
They might do.
I don't think that's a good idea, but I see Terrance smiling. Terrance, what are your thoughts about becoming energy independent? We got to get you some of this Beard Vet stuff. It's really good.
You know, and I'm looking forward to it, especially since you can mix it with pretty much anything you want. You know, I can get a little jolt in anything that I drink. I'm all for that.
All right. We like to see that. I tell you what we're not for. We'll put it up from Robbie Starbuck, who posted it. This is the tip of the iceberg. Just wait, Karyn. In 5 to 10 years, there will be thousands of these. And maybe we could zero in on it. I've got it on my phone. Daily Mail has a story. There you go. Texas woman seeks $1 million from doctors who put her on testosterone at age 17 and left her, quote, nipples peeling off from a botched trans operation, saying they should have treated her depression instead. Now, Karyn, actually, you and Terrance often say this is a mental health problem.
Yep.
And now some of the people who have gone through this, and at 17...
Then get mental help and go, wow,
maybe it was mental
maybe it's a
illness
bad idea.
or challenges. So I'm not trying to target this woman and say she's mentally ill or harm her. She had questions. Maybe she's confused. But doctors who are supposed to do no harm literally did harm to her body, instead of saying, maybe we need to introduce you to a therapist. Maybe we need to talk about this. Maybe we need to think
Make sure this is the right decision. Think it through.
But can you imagine how many lawsuits are coming, Terrance? Can you imagine how many men who cut off body parts 5 years later and say, wait a second, you know, because we played a clip from a doctor last week who was saying, you know, these puberty blockers are all reversible. And everybody in our chat was like, obviously that's not true. We're not doctors, but you can't just reverse the puberty blockers. And people are going to have real questions.
You know, when anyone is going to do something permanent to their body, it seems like there needs to be a discussion had, particularly when you're talking about cutting off appendages, if you will. It seems like there needs to be some counseling going on so that they truly have a full perspective of what they're getting ready to do. And don't, similar to this case, come back 5, 6, 10 years later and say, oh, I didn't realize this is what I was doing. I didn't have full perspective. I was dealing with something else other than what I ultimately
And doctors are supposed to be there to help us instead of...
But doctors are supposed to follow the science. Isn't that what medicine is based on, is science? Again, chromosomes, genders, these are all things that are scientific. Why aren't we following the science?
You're right. I want to get to